Hello, 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 and welcome to this month's amazing lineup on the Her Version Impact panel. We have had over 130 female guest speakers on this stage up to this point. We have over 475 YouTube videos, over 110 audio podcasts, 560 members in our Facebook group. We hope that you can join us. I am so thrilled to have a female panel filled this month as we talk about why multi-level marketing rocks. The conversation around this topic will be broad and will be guaranteed to educate you on so many questions you might have. Join us as we dive deep into these ladies' personal journeys and what they have created for themselves in order to better their lives. There will be live QA for the next 2 hours. So get your questions in the comment section of wherever you're listening to us. Your comments and or questions might be brought up on screen for the ladies to talk about or answer live right in front of you. So for those of you that don't know me, I am your host, Sabrina Victoria. If you are new to this podcast, make sure you follow, like, subscribe, and share. Let's jump right in. To do or not to do an impact panel on multi-level marketing? That was the question that I had. I cannot tell you how often I get MLM reps sliding into my direct messages disguised as a new friend, only to be greeted with a sales pitch of some sort a day or two into the conversation. I know you guys know what I'm talking about out there. For me, it's awesome. I admire individuals who are not afraid to sell. And I know a lot of people that could actually take some pointers from all of these ladies on stage. I got into sales early on in my career. I have over 15 years of experience in sales and recruiting, business to business and door to door, all straight commission. It's a lively, competitive, and powerful industry to be in. Plus, my mother and her best friend were involved in an MLM about 20 years ago. That's dating me a little bit. Both made money for years. Both went on some cruises. Neither one of them had bad experiences, and they both loved and used the products religiously. Listen, I know the bad rap that MLMs have. I have heard it all, but what about the positives? I want to know about all the positives. I decided to bring together this beautiful panel of strong women who have a passion for entrepreneurship, freedom, flexibility, and the female community. I know there are women out there in need of some extra money, women who are bored at home, women who need to be immersed in a powerful community. And many times multi-level marketing can actually fill these voids. It's time to hear all the awesome things that these businesses can bring. And I am excited to share this with you. So the first thing that I would like to do is introduce this beautiful panel that we have sitting here. Jessica, I want to, there she is. All right, sorry about that. We are starting with Angela. Angela, if you could do me a huge favor and start us out. We're just introducing ourselves right now. I want to know just briefly who you are, where you're from, what you do, and why you are an expert on this subject. And then we'll kind of go down the line, and then we'll start with our questioning after that.
Okay. Hi, thanks, Sabrina. And I love that we're tackling this topic because you're right. We hear a lot of negative. My name is Angela Sluter. I'm coming from the East Coast of Canada, and I'm a wedding and event planner. And have been doing that for about 24 years now. But I've always had what I like to call a side hustle, a little side gig that I had. Then when March of 2020 hit, I realized that my biggest year ever of book contracts for my event business was going to turn into my smallest year. I started to panic a little bit about how I was going to replace that income. So I'm really grateful to the industry. I'm grateful for the relationships that I've built, the friendships that I've had, the skills that I've learned since really buckling down with that a little bit more. And so I'm really grateful that we're going to discuss this tonight in a positive way. It's awesome.
Awesome. Rebecca, tell us who you are, where you're from, what you do, and why you're an expert in this subject.
Oh, hey, hi, hello. How are we? I am Coach Becca. I'm a boy mom, a dog mom, and a newlywed. I live in New Hampshire, and I was a single mom for 10 years, struggling paycheck to paycheck. I did start my own fitness business. I have a background in personal training and sports nutrition. I'm also a retired bodybuilder. And this opportunity landed in my lap in a season where I had more money going out than I did coming in. It was the holidays of 2018. And somebody just said, hey, someone who cared enough about me said there's an opportunity to make a little extra money here. And it was right up my alley because it was helping people. And that's totally my passion. And it's completely changed my life ever since. And it's what I do full time now. I get to do fitness on the side back as my passion instead of slave driving myself like crazy, trying to work with so many people in a day to pay my bills. So
I love that. Thanks, Rebecca. Karen Cooper, let us know who you are, where you're from, what you do, and why you're an expert in this subject.
Hi, I just want to say thank you for having us all here tonight. I'm very excited to discuss this topic. I'm Karen Cooper. I live in Staten Island, New York, by ways of Brooklyn, so you probably heard that accent. I'm a mom of two, a 20-year-old junior in college and a 16-year-old 10th grader, girl and boy, so it's fun times in my house. But I'm in the health and wellness industry, and why this subject? I started actually because I was a user. I was couldn't keep up with my life, so I started using the products, and I felt so good using them. I was like, oh my god, these are fabulous, and so why not share with others? And what I love about this industry, two things. I was the hugest skeptic. I totally thought personal development was hokey, and I was that person 1,000%, and played the victim card amazingly well. And why this subject and why is MLM good? Because you can talk about the products and the companies and things like that, but the personal development piece, I think, is a very huge part of it, and how it's changed
yeah.
my trajectory, my life. And health and wellness wasn't something. I've worked in advertising. It wasn't even on my trajectory of anything to do in life. And because I tried something, I loved it and it worked for me. What do we do when something works for us? We share it with everybody else. So that's why I'm loving that we're talking about this, because especially now in the social media age and how we share everything anyway, it's like the perfect time to have this conversation.
100%. Thank you, Karen. Amy Butler, who you are, where you're from, what you do, and why you're an expert in this subject.
Okay, well, you always make me nervous to say expert in this subject, right? Because who? But Amy Butler, I'm in the Wichita, Kansas area, and I have been with my company for just over 16 years. And I never, when I was first approached about the business, the consultant asked me if I'd ever thought of doing something like this. I really looked at it like 12 heads. I was probably really nodding to her. Crazy, absolutely not. I had an insurance agency at the time, and because I owned the agency, I thought I had, I did have a lot of flexibility, and I kind of had the best of both worlds, that I could, be there with my kids and not be, not be with my kids also, because I was that mom who needed to get away sometimes. But I ended up falling in love with the products, and I fell in love with the business at the same time, and it just, I don't know, it was just that gut tug that said, you need to do this, you need to do this. And so I went ahead and jumped in, and fast forward, my life had some changes that I didn't see coming, and my company was put there to be exactly what I needed it to be. And like you said, the personal growth and development was mentioned. Things like that have just been absolutely life-changing, and something that me and my family are forever grateful for. So I'm just excited to be here and learn from everyone else.
Yes. Thank you, Amy. Melanie, who you are, where you're from, what you do, and why this subject.
Thank you so much again for having us. I love the industry so much, but I didn't always love it. I live in New York State, about an hour north of New York City. So I commuted to Manhattan for 10 years as a corporate marketer. And then when I had our first child in the year 2000, I stayed home. But I am not a full-time stay-at-home mom kind of gal. So when he was 18 months old and I went to my first home party, I said, this is so fun. I want to do this because you could have fun and be in a community and all the things. Well, fast forward, that was 21 years ago. I have been aligned with 5 different companies. And in the meantime, I realized that my marketing skill set was not equipping me for the social media world. So I had to skill up back in 2017. It was kind of a humbling experience for someone with my corporate experience, but I did the thing and I have just really enjoyed being able to help women. I particularly focus on moms over 40, teaching them how to use social media to grow a business without being techie or without having the knowledge that they think they need to have. So it's been a great opportunity to help them as well. Thanks so much.
Beautiful. Thank you, Melanie. Jessica, who you are, where you're from, what you do, and why you are an expert in this subject.
Hey, everybody. I'm Jessica Faraday. I am currently up here in Buffalo, New York, where it is finally springtime. Thank you, Jesus, for the sunshine. And thank you, Sabrina, for having us here tonight. This is so amazing. I love this panel of women, the power that we are showing here, the community. What do I do? I am on fire for helping moms, single moms, and kids in mental wellness. It's a big deal for me. I went through some trauma in my life, and I became a mom at 43 in the middle of all that trauma, and finding the supplements and the things that I use now were they were essential in me becoming the mom that I am today. So I'm on fire for that. And why am I an expert in this field? You guys, I've been doing this for 20 plus years. I've been in network marketing. I've been with several different companies. I've been around the block. I've been at the top. I've been at the bottom. I've been all over it. And for me, unlike some other people, I didn't come from anything else. I went to school for musical theater. I wanted to be an actor, and I fell into the network marketing world in order to support myself as an actor. And now being a single mom, it works even better. But I've never been a 9-to-5er. This is my jam. This is what I love. I love the community. I love the sisterhood. I love how it works for the schedule for you, creating what you need to do. Supporting you in the way that you need to be supported. And I'm so excited to be here to share and to answer all of the multitude of questions that I hope are going to come in so that I can rock your world and bust open those myths that you have about MLMs and network marketing.
I love
Thanks,
that.
guys.
I love that. Thank you so much, Jessica. Ruth, who you are, where you're from, what you do, and why you're an expert in this subject.
Hey there. Thank you again so much for having us all on. This is such a powerful group, and I love hearing from all of you. So my name's Ruth Sheridan. I live in Collingwood, Ontario, Canada. So I've been in the industry since 2008. In 2008, I'm a chartered accountant, CPA by profession, spent 25 years in corporate, and realized that there had to be more in life. So I had this bright idea I was going to become an entrepreneur, and I opened a CrossFit gym. We were the 3rd CrossFit gym in Canada. I started an online fitness equipment distribution business and realized about 5 years into it, I had just bought myself a job because I was working harder there than I was in corporate, and I had 0 time freedom. During that period, I was introduced to network marketing, and I could see the power of the business model. I was super excited, but I sucked at it. I was really bad. And I realized I needed some skills. So I hired some mentors along the way, various people, and really learned how to transition over to the social media space. Since then, through a coaching company that I have with an individual named Matt Morris, we've coached over 3,000 network marketers to learn how to use social media the right way, not the wrong way.
Yes.
And have built a lifestyle business that has freed me and my spouse. And I just love empowering people now. It's not about the money. It's about helping people become successful. So that's what I'm all about.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Ruth. Jennifer, who you are, where you're from, what you do, and why you're an expert in this subject.
I'm truly honored to be here, as everybody else is, and super excited for this evening. My name is Jennifer Glacken. I live just outside of Detroit, Michigan. I have 2 adult children, and I got involved in the industry 28 years ago. So I feel like the old person on the panel here. I've been a 6-figure earner for 17 of those years, and I've only been with one company. But I built my business the old school way. It's a health and wellness business. I built very old school. And when social media became such an up and coming way to build the business, I had to go back and skill up. I've heard others
Yeah.
say that. And so I've done a lot of training. I've hired coaches, been through some mentoring programs. And so now I teach people how to authentically and successfully build online. And I really try to pass that down to my team. Certainly wouldn't say I'm an expert, but I've been around for a long time, and hopefully I can share some tips tonight as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jennifer. And Myrna, who you are, where you're from, what you do, and why you're an expert in this subject.
Oh, hello, everyone. I too am thrilled to be having this conversation tonight. It's great to celebrate MLMs as opposed to bashing them, right?
Yes.
I'm Myrna Buckles. I live in South Dakota. I'm moving to Nicaragua, so I'm kind of in between. What do I do? I coach direct sales and MLM leaders, and I love empowering women to serve their community, to build impact, but to also be able to take care of their families and to support what they need so that they build confidence through their businesses. Why am I an expert? Well, I don't know. I spent 20 years in the U.S. Public Health Service, and I supervised people but had no authority over them. And is that not like what we're doing with MLMs? And so that I had to learn how to bring people alongside me without having any authority and yet to get the work done. So that's my skill. And I'm really thrilled to be here. What a great group of ladies.
Yes, I agree. Thank you so much. I so appreciate. Let's do a round of applause for all of the ladies today on this panel. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to have all of you here. Thank you for coming on and talking about this topic. For those of you listening live, for those of you that are jumping on, we so appreciate you being here, supporting us. I just want to reiterate for those of you that are just jumping on right now that we are taking comments, questions, anything that you want to ask or talk about or say. There is a possibility of your comment coming up on screen for the ladies to be able to read it and view it live. We appreciate you being here and supporting us. We can all use some perspective in this area. So I encourage you to share this podcast, comment where you feel comfortable. This is interactive, like I said, so your comment could pop up on screen. I would love to start out with handing the floor over to Angela, having her reintroduce herself and then ask her question. So what we're going to do is every panelist on today is going to have the floor for about 10 or 15 minutes to be able to introduce themselves, ask a question, and then call on the panel and actually host the podcast here live and kind of go from there. So we are going to start out with Angela. If you can tell us a little bit more about you, if you please, ask your question, and then we'll kind of run from there.
Okay, thanks, Sabrina. So like I said, I've kind of been in the industry as a sideline for many, many decades. I actually started out when I was super young. And I've told this story to a few of you already, but I was at the table. I think I was about 11, maybe 9. I don't know. I was young. I was sitting at the kitchen table, and my mom had one of her friends over, and she was looking through this catalog, and my mom passed her she went through the catalog and she passed her a list and passed her some money. And after she left, I said, what was all that about? And my mom says, well, she has a little side business where she sells from this catalog, and I ordered some products from her. And I'm like, well, I could do that. Like, wow, I could make some money doing that. And so I was all over it. And I found out that you had to be, I think at that time it was 16 or 18 to be able to sign up with the company. And I begged my parents to get an account for me, and they did. I was super surprised, but I started that young, and I stayed with that company like all into my 20s. And so it was an interesting experience. But down the road and through all of the decades, I've been, and I forget who it was, but somebody said kind of like through different companies at the top and at the bottom and everywhere in between. And you get to the top, and then maybe the company, falls out from under you, they close, or there's problems. There's all of these things we encounter, right? So my question that I'd like to ask you ladies, because we're all in the biz in some way or another, what do you look for when you're choosing a company? Karen?
I look for integrity. I mean, I think the products is real. Obviously, you look for something you're actually going to use. of course, that being said, something you're going to use, but I actually look for, because I've been in 3 different ones, and the one I'm with now, like, they really care about the people in the company. So that's what I would say. Integrity and really giving a crap, for lack of a better way to put it, is something that I think is really, really important, because everything else, like the comp plan and everything else, is great, but it's really, how do they treat the people that they work with? I think that's a hugely important piece of information for me anyway.
Right. It's really interesting. Melanie?
Thank you. So I look at each opportunity. I've been in 5. I look at it from a business perspective. And I love what you said, Karen. Sometimes you don't know how they treat people. So I look at from a business perspective. And I have actually 5 things that I look at. The first one is timing. So where in the industry are they at? And you might want a legacy company, you might want a startup. It depends on what you're looking for. Like if you were looking for a position in corporate America, what is important to you? The second thing is mentorship, right? What sort of quality of people are there and what are they offering in terms of mentorship? This third one is relevant product, meaning are people actually looking for the solutions that your company has? And is it unique in the marketplace, right? We all know that there's lots of companies that sell the same solution, but if you can be aligned with a company that has a unique solution, then you're ahead of the game in my opinion. Also the competitive landscape, who else is out there doing what you're doing or not? And then finally, the financials of the company. Is it debt free? What does the comp plan look like? So for me, those are the 5 things I looked at when I joined this past company 4 years ago.
Amy. Thanks, Melanie.
I would just add one thing to that. I think Melanie's list is fantastic. But you have to, for myself personally, and I think if you are going to be in it for the long term, it has to align with who you are personally. Like I know Ruth said that she started a CrossFit gym. I like to work out for a little bit and then I like to not work out. And so CrossFit is like this really intense thing and it's great for people. But if let's just say that CrossFit was a network marketing thing. If I was going to sign up to do a CrossFit thing, I would have a really hard time, selling that to people. And especially if I was telling them how great and awesome it was, but I wasn't going every day myself, because those CrossFit people, they're there at least 5 days a week, I think. And I wouldn't be authentic to myself and who I am as a person if that's what I was trying to sell and make a business around. So you got to make sure that those products that they're offering and that kind of the company and what they stand for, that aligns with who you are personally and it jives with who you're growing to be.
I couldn't agree more, for sure. And Jessica and Myrna both have their hands up. So Jessica, do you want to go first?
Sure. I want to just tag on to what Amy was just saying about alignment. My personal story, I was with the same company for a majority of the 20 plus years that I've been doing this. And what happened is I fell out of love with the product. My personal values changed for what I wanted to use in my personal life. And I had to make a decision. You can't sell part of something. You know what I mean? You have to sell all of something. If you're in it, you're in it. And if you're not in it all the way, you cannot be successful. So I had to make the decision to leave that company and jump into something else. And it took some time to search and find what was now in alignment with me. And the landscape changed, as I think it was Jennifer who was talking about being old school and building it old school. Yeah, I started there too, in that old school arena. And then when the landscape changed to be more social media based, that's a huge learning curve. And then also finding that alignment as well for yourself is super important. And the other thing that I want to touch on is just to say community. Community for me is super big and super important, because I had such a great community. I was with Mary Kay, was the company I was with for about almost 20 years. I loved the sisterhood and I loved the community. I loved the support, the team culture. There was no cattiness. There was no tearing other people down. There was no stealing of other people's customers. There was just respect. And that was really important to me, to find that in whatever was going to be my next adventure.
Super interesting, and I think I don't know, I can't speak for all of you, but I've experienced joining a company and really being in love with it, being in love with the company, being in love with the ethics and what the company is doing, and then having that company completely shift gears to something I was no longer in line with. So then what do, right? You have to go find a new home. So anyways, that's part of the journey, right? Myrna, what were you going to say?
Well, I wasn't going to say this, but I'm going to, because the same thing happened to me, Angela. And Jessica, I had to go find new homes when their values changed, their core values changed, and they didn't align with mine anymore. And it's so important to know your core values so that you know what you're happy with and what won't work for you. The other thing I was going to add is just methodology. What does that company teach their members as far as contacting people? I don't think any of us are going to join a company that spams us, right? It's just a huge turnoff for me. And so I look for how I'm approached.
Interesting. And that could be part of the reason why, the industry gets such a bad rap, because you have these companies that do this, right? So that's why it's super important to be really well aware of what you're looking for in a company and what draws you to this company. Ruth, what were you going to say?
I was just going to add, like, these are all fantastic points and so important to look at when we're looking at companies. But the one thing that became really important to me after rising to almost the top level of a company and then have my business just disintegrate was retention rate. And it's a number that I look at I looked at when I joined my next opportunity. And I wanted to make sure that that retention rate was there. In my very first company, it was when I owned the gym, and I brought on 400 people in my first year. And that's because I had a captive audience, right? And I thought I had it made. I was like the 5th top enroller in Canada. And the next year I had 10 people left because the retention rate was so low. So retention rate for me is super important, especially when it comes to building passive income.
I love and appreciate that so much that you said that, because for sure it's important. And the transparency, right? So a company can say that they have an 85% retention rate or reorder rate, but if people are only reordering once every 6 months, what does that do to your paycheck, right?
That's not going to cut it.
Yeah, so super, I couldn't agree with that more. And for me, I think making sure the company doesn't have overpriced products. Like if they have a really small product line and the products are super expensive, then they're selling those to pay their distributors or to pay their network marketers, right? So for me, I looked at, do they have things that people are going to use every single month? Are they going to love it? Is it affordable? And can they use it every single month? Because I was the same way. I wanted to make sure the retention rate and the reorder rate was there so that I could be guaranteed that residual income that we want, right? So that was super important. Coach Becca.
I love all of these responses, and totally, absolutely, yes. And for me, it's really about belief and passion. Like, is the product something that I can believe in, right? Is it actually something that I believe is going to help the masses? And is it something that I can be passionate about in sharing, right? Because a lot of mine is energy. Like, a lot of the business that I build is all based around energy. And so if I'm just sharing something because, oh, well, I know they're going to use it, but I don't have passion about why it's so important, I'm not going to share it with the energy, right? And so it has to be belief in the product, belief in the community, belief in the company, and then something that I'm super passionate about in my heart.
I love that. I love that because, yeah, all of those things, right? We all want to be passionate about what we're doing. We all want to, and being like what Ruth said about, empowering others. For her, it's not about the money anymore. It's about empowering others and watching other people maybe come into their own a little bit, or maybe getting out of their comfort zone so they can do that. So thank you, ladies, for sharing all of those things. I think they're all really valid points.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Angela. I so appreciate you taking over for a little while. I am going to switch gears a little bit and have Rebecca take over the stage. If you want to tell us a little bit more of who you are and your question.
Sure. Hey, hi, hello, how are we? That's my little thing. If you don't know by now, you do now. Yeah, I am in the health and wellness industry. I work with a biohacking company. We hack the body into ketosis in 59 minutes or less without doing the keto diet. And I'm super passionate about that for many, many reasons. Like I said, my background is in fitness and nutrition. I used to be 230 pounds obese. I'm also a recovered drug addict and alcoholic. And food was another vice. And so I then realized I was poisoning my body with food just as much as I was drugs and alcohol, and studied nutrition and started there, and then joined with fitness and became certified because I had so many people asking me for help, and I was like, wow, like this is something that people actually could benefit from. And I started my own business. I went right into starting my own business after working a desk job. I just made a post about it today. I sat behind a desk for 8 to 9 hours a day in a real estate office and was watching the brokers come in and out and be able to spend time with their kids while mine was at daycare all day. And there just had to be something more, right? There was just something missing. And so I started a little side business when somebody reached out to me on Instagram, and I got introduced to the network marketing world. And luckily, because on a Thursday, they told me I was doing a great job. And then on a Sunday, they told me that they didn't have room for me anymore. And so all this job security that this single mom thought she had went right out the window. And so that's when my career in network marketing started. However, since then, I've gone to a different company. Again, that company shifted and started doing things that weren't aligned with my passion, which is fitness and nutrition. And so my business was doing great. However, in the winter months, people aren't buying personal training packages. I mean, I'm sure, Ruth, you probably know the gym slows down, everything slows down, and people are like, I'm going to eat the holiday foods and all of these things instead of doing that. Well, my bills don't wait until after the new year. And this opportunity fell in my lap right at that time. And so I had something that could help people still get results, be able to experience physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, financial changes throughout the holidays. And so I launched in November of 2018. And I took off running. But then after the new year, I slowed back down and I only needed $400. I had run out of heating fuel in my house. My son and I were freezing cold. You can see our breath. We're in New Hampshire. And I made 7.5 times that in my first 30 days. But then I slowed back down, right? I still had this belief around real businesses and network marketing businesses. It was this divide, right? And so I ended up picking back up in April of 2020 when, again, we got blessed with COVID and it shut me down for personal training. And this picked up and it's been booming ever since. And so I'm super grateful for this industry because it provides an opportunity for anyone, whether you're from jail or Yale, to get, an income that you get control over, So my question is for you ladies, people who ask about, like the pyramid scheme thing, right? This is good, right? This is good. We're going there. Because we get it all the time. Oh, is that another one of those pyramid schemes, right? But yet they're working in corporate world where they have somebody at the top of their pyramid. So like I want to smash this stigma of the pyramid scheme because as we know, we're not in a pyramid scheme. They are, so how do you smash the stigma around this pyramid scheme? Cool. Karen, go ahead.
First of all, you totally stole my question. Second, I'm kidding, but like that was totally going to be my question. But anyway, that being said, see, that's why we come prepared with three. I listen to you, Sabrina. But that being said, I totally have more than three. But nonetheless, that being said, I actually love this question because is it a pyramid scheme? And you know what? I actually say no, they're illegal. Like that's actually my response because I don't also want to be judgy. Like initially, when I would get asked that question, I honestly. I'm from Brooklyn, so I'm a little raw sometimes. And I was like a little bit judgy about it and things like that. And it was off-putting. So I'm like, well, they're illegal. Then I'd be like, well, why do you think it's a pyramid scheme? Like, then I would start asking them questions. You know, when you're asking them questions, normally when you're asking a prospect question, why you interested? What's going on? Tell me about your day, that kind of thing. Well, why do you think it's a pyramid scheme? What does a pyramid scheme mean to you? Those type of, you know what I mean? Get down to the nitty gritty as to why they're asking that question. Because it may just be that's what they've heard from their mother's father, sister's brother 5 years ago. And that's what's ingrained in their head because, that's what it is. If somebody heard something, it's like playing telephone, right? Somebody heard something and then so on and so on and so on. By the time it gets to somebody else, is not even near the sentence that it was when they were told it initially. So I just try to listen to them because I think that's also more important as opposed to judging them and being annoyed with the question. It's more or less a lot of times be like, well, why are you asking that? What do you think? What have you heard? Those kind of things. And a lot of times they're like, well, this person said this and this person said the other thing. And I'd be like, okay, well, what do you think? You know what I mean? And bring it back to them and make them feel seen, heard, and understood. Because a lot of times that's what it is. They're nervous, they're scared, and they just heard the bad things. That's why it gets the bad rap. So it's a matter of just bringing it back to them and finding out their reason. And if they still believe it's a pyramid scheme, then I'd be like, okay, would you like to look it up? What would, if you want information? No. Okay, cool. And then leave it alone, like not force anything. So that would be what I would do. Go say.
I love that. Asking questions. It's always about asking questions, right? Jennifer, did you have, go ahead.
Yeah, I would absolutely ask questions. Karen, you did a fabulous job covering that, so I won't spend much more time there. But I think when you get to the point where it's time for some education, there's a couple of things that you can do. Because most companies, if you think about it, there is one CEO and there's loads and loads of people at the entry-level position. So you can think about a McDonald's, really any business. And there's one CEO and then lots of hamburger flippers or whatever you want to call them. And just helping people understand that almost every other business, especially corporate America, they all are shaped like a pyramid. The second piece that I always like to share with people when I get to the education part really is that the Federal Trade Commission shuts down pyramid schemes. They are illegal. And for any business, I don't know what business all of us are in, but all of us have been in different businesses, and my company's been around for a long time. And so what I'll say is, don't you think that the Federal Trade Commission would have figured out by now that this company was illegal if they were doing illegal practices? And it just helps people to think a little bit. You're not trying to be rude, and I agree with you, Karen. It really depends on how you ask those questions and making sure that you do education from a place of compassion. But there are times that people are actually really excited about the business model. And so you don't want to jump up right away and say, oh my gosh, no, we're not a pyramid scheme. And really, you put too much emphasis on that when somebody might be excited about the fact that you could build something that you own and they just don't really understand the terminology that they're using. So that would just be a couple of my tips.
That's awesome. I love turning it back to, don't you think the FTC would have shut us down already? Go ahead, Myrna.
I just agree with both of these ladies. It's really the question behind the question. What are they really asking? Because they just don't know. And I worked for the US government, and that is the ultimate pyramid scheme, right? Or it looks like it if you look at the hierarchy. But like Jennifer said, it is just the way the structure is. Pyramid schemes are about how things are conducted, not the structure. And I think that education piece is awesome, but it truly is. What is the real question they're asking?
100%. That's awesome. I do have a few things that have popped up here. Lucy wants to know how long you've been sober. Rebecca?
Awesome. August 9th, 2015 is my sobriety date. So 7 years in August, coming up on 7 years. Thanks, ladies.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We have, how do I find out what the retention rate is?
The only real way to find out the retention rate is to ask your sponsor to show it to you. So have them bring up their business reports and show you the retention rate in their business.
Oh, wow. Okay.
that's certainly something I did before I joined the company I'm in now.
Awesome. I have a few questions here that are, I don't want to say they're like taboo, but I like to be, what's the word? What's the word with that? I like to be
Avant-garde.
Push the envelope.
Disruptive.
Disruptive is good.
like,
Devil's advocate.
what's it called when you want to be transparent? Transparent. So I could just not bring these up, but I don't want it to look like I'm being shifty. So I'm going to bring these up. They're not that bad, but I don't feel as if we're going to be able to answer them necessarily, but I would like to just acknowledge them. So Catherine, I'm curious what companies each of these ladies are affiliated with. Now, Catherine, when we decided to do this MLM impact panel, we had a knowing that we weren't going to be selling for this impact panel. We are strictly just educating everyone on the benefits or the positives of MLM. So what I am going to say, and anybody else can add to this, that if you do feel a pull towards one of the ladies on screen, their social media is on the ticker bar underneath, one. And then number two, their social media handle or email of some sort is in the description wherever you are watching. Okay. Does anybody else want to add to Catherine? Is that a good enough description? Cool. And then I have this one. So many I hear about require a start of which vary from $200 to $500 to get started. What is a good one I can pick into that doesn't cost a lot of money to get started? Does anyone want to give her some sort of an answer? Just answer.
Oh, I was going to say, I think, Becca, you're the one who said about passion earlier. So my answer to that question would be, what are you passionate about? Because in that sense, I don't want to say it doesn't matter the cost, but I understand it may be a cost that you're not willing to accrue. But if it's something that you're passionate about, I would actually look at it. Oh my God, well, I really love this. And then look at the cost. Don't look at the cost first. Look at what are you passionate about, and then look at the cost, because the cost may not matter. It'd be like, oh my God, I love that so much. And that's great. I'd be willing to pay for that or something like that.
Awesome. Anybody else? Melanie? And then Coach Becca?
Yeah, I kind of with what Karen is saying. So what are you getting for that investment? And then a lot of times I talk about, like, okay, let's say, would you apply for a job based on salary only? Because I've been in corporate jobs where I was paid very well and they were horrible. So it's not always the cost to what you're going to receive. What's the value? And to Karen's point, what is for you? What are you more aligned with?
Oh, Coach Becca, go ahead.
So just my own personal experience is that I was literally out of heating fuel in my house when I got started. So ask more questions. There might be a way for you to get started doing the activities and the actions that could actually benefit you in starting that business before you even make that initial investment. And that's the other thing is, instead of looking at it as an expense, you are actually starting a business. This is an investment. It would cost you way more than that to start any kind of brick and mortar business, right? Any kind of business that you had a storefront, anything like that would cost way more than that. So for $200 or $500, you could literally start a multi-million-dollar business when it could cost you, lots of debt and overhead and everything to start any kind of brick and mortar business. So instead of looking at it as an expense, shifting that mindset to it being an investment to a multi-million-dollar business that's right at your fingertips.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Lucy has one more. And we kind of already answered this, Lucy, so I'm assuming you might have come in a little bit late. So I would recommend you to actually, when you're finished watching the whole thing, to go back and watch the first 25 minutes of this, because this question was actually already sort of answered. But can one of you ladies maybe just kind of give her a little synopsis, a little rehash on that? What should I look for when picking one? I know we already kind of answered it, but can someone give her, she's
Sure.
listening live. Go ahead, Jessica.
Integrity of the company. You want to find something that you have a personal attraction to and alignment with yourself. If you are using the product, of course, you need to be in love with what you're selling. whatever the product is, whether that's real estate or, I don't know, skincare, it doesn't matter. Something that has transparency with the company, like when we were talking about the retention rate just a few minutes ago, if they can't share that information with you or find a way to get you that information, that's a telltale sign that something is not quite right. Saturation in the marketplace, how many other people are doing this, like skincare, for instance. There's a lot of people doing skincare, a lot of people selling candles. Not that there's anything wrong with those industries, but saturation it makes it harder because there's a lot of people doing it. Those are just some of the ones that popped into my mind.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Jessica. I appreciate that. And thank you so much, Lucy, for hanging out with us. We appreciate you being here live, and we appreciate you commenting. For any of you that are watching live, we have 67 people watching live right now. Feel free to comment and hang out and question. As you can see, we bring up the questions sporadically throughout the day, so you can get your questions answered live. I am going to hand the mic off to Karen. Tell us a little bit more about who you are, and then ask your question.
Hi, so I am Karen Cooper. Like I said, I'm originally from Brooklyn, living in Staten Island, New York at the moment. My kids are 20 and 16, and I was a full-time working mom. I worked in corporate America. I worked in the advertising industry. And initially I was like, you know what? No. When I had my daughter, I was like, you know what? No. And she's going to be 21 in August. So 21 years ago, it was like, there was no working from home. There was not the flexibility there is now and whatever. I'm going to show her, females can be CEOs and what we can do and all those things. And then I actually had her. And I was like, oh, well, hi. And then she was in daycare. I had to put her in daycare at 10 weeks old. I had her August of 01. 9/11 happened. I was on maternity leave. And then I went back to work November 1st of 01 in Manhattan. So that was fun. And so it was really, really challenging for me in that sense. Like I had a lot of guilt, a lot of just all the things that happens when you have to go back to work and you put your child in daycare. And so that started the trajectory of change for me in terms of, well, there has to be something different. Like I want to, working from home, but I couldn't do, I had to earn a paycheck. Like I had to, my husband at the time, we couldn't afford to live on one paycheck. So that kind of started like the thought process in my head of what I want more. There has to be more. And then I had my son, and I was home for 2 years when I had him, and still didn't really know about network marketing. I had heard of it, but I didn't really know anything about it. And I heard like good, bad, and indifferent about it. So I started working out. I started, I quit smoking. I started working out, long story short. And I'm still working full time. Now my kids are in sports. I'm exhausted. I'm fat. I hate the way I look in pictures. Like I'm miserable. I played the victim card really well. But I was also that person who was like, yeah, personal development, that's hokey. That's not true. Nothing works. Like I totally thought everybody was insane who did it. Like I was totally that person, 100%. And I started working out, and people that I were working out with were doing these products. And long story short, I was like, okay, I can't keep up with my life anymore. So that's why I started. I actually didn't start for the business side of it. Like I'd seen them transform. Like I'm in the health and wellness industry. So I'd seen their bodies. With my own eyes, I'd seen them earn this extremely insane amount of money. And I was like, yeah, whatever. For like a few years, I was that skeptical. And so, but then I was like, wait a minute. There's something viable here. Like I had to get to my breaking point in a way. So that's kind of where I'm going with this. So, and then I was like, wait a minute, I really like this. This is really great. And I started to feel really good. I lost weight, but it was about how I felt, how my body felt. And I was like, wait, maybe people don't necessarily want to quit their jobs, and that's totally cool. But it was just like a mom like myself, wait a minute, this allows me to earn an income and still being able to be with my kids and still contribute financially to the family. So that was very, very appealing to me. So to that point, my question is actually, it's two questions, because that's why I want to focus in. I feel like also we don't take care of ourselves a lot. Oh no, we can't pour from an empty cup kind of a thing. It's like taboo to take care of ourselves. But my question actually lends to the personal development and the growth and or selling. So like it's kind of twofold. Because it's about, what do you tell people? Well, do I have to do personal development? Is that part of it? And they hem and haw about that, and sharing the products. Oh, I don't sell anything. People like myself who was like, you're insane, you're crazy. I don't want to sell anything. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to be that person. And I'm not interested in personal development. So A and B, like, what are your thoughts about those subjects? Jennifer.
You know, something I've always said that this business and just network marketing in general is the best personal development journey you'll ever go on, whether you want to or not. Because if you don't know how to sell or you don't like selling, you learn how to do that. Maybe you're not really good at personal relationships and you figure that out pretty quickly, especially if you do some spammy things and then your friends say, oh my gosh, you're just spamming me with products. And you say, oh gosh, I don't want to do that. And you start learning how to ask questions and how to listen and how to build authentic relationships. And so I think personal development sort of comes along the journey. I don't always tell people right off the bat, especially if they're a little bit hesitant about personal development, because I know it's going to happen. It's almost impossible to be in this business and not have it happen. But it's my favorite thing now. When I started, I thought I didn't need personal development. I couldn't understand what it was all about. And as I got all the no's and I had people, standing back from me when I would talk about my products and my company, I realized I was doing something wrong and I had to figure it out. And I immersed myself in personal development. And at this point, I've spent lots and lots of money on personal development. So that's been huge for me. And then the second part, I think that you can share something that you're really passionate about, but it really comes back to asking questions and learning about the other person. All of us provide solutions for problems that people have, and we just have to identify what the problem is and then offer a solution.
Okay, I just love what you just said, that you offer solutions to people's problems. That was, I think, the best description of
Write
what
it
we all
down.
do. Honestly, I think that was really amazing. But you're right, to a point, like ask the questions and get down to nitty gritty. I love that. That was very cool. Jessica, I see your hand up as well.
Yeah. So on the selling, I would say the minute that you try to sell somebody something and the minute that you are thinking of dollar signs is the minute that you have sabotaged yourself. This industry in general, this is one of the big taboo things that comes up all the time about MLM and network marketing. I don't sell anything. I don't want to be sold anything. It's sleazy. It's icky. I don't like the way it makes me feel. That's because you're all doing it wrong. You were taught wrong. It comes from the top down. This is part of how you choose a company too. If this is how they're teaching you, this is not the way. No, thank you. This is about being of service and what Jennifer just said, offering solutions. If you are service oriented and being for the other person, one of the biggest lessons that I learned is what I was taught by one of my mentors is put a sign around that person's neck that says, make me feel important. If they are what you are focused on and you are focused on helping them and not focused on yourself and what money you are bringing home, that is where the true success comes from. That's the gold in all of this. And now I've totally forgotten the second part of your, personal development. Okay, now I remember where I was going. Got so into it. I think that mindset is hugely important, especially in this industry, because we are here for a lot of the time on your own. We have community, we have networking, we have support, we have sisterhood, but you are on your own for the most part building this business. And the mind can be like a bad neighborhood and you do not want to go there alone sometimes, seriously. So if you're not building your mindset, then it can really, that's another way to sabotage yourself. And for me, I think mindset is like exercise, like working your body out. Yeah. If you're not working out consistently, Coach Becca can tell you this, you will not see the results. It's the same with your mindset. What are you feeding your mind? If you are not feeding this stuff, good information, if you're just watching trash television 24/7, or you're listening to the Johnny Depp trial 24/7, not that there's anything wrong with that. There's stuff happening over there. It's pretty crazy. But if that's all that's going through your mind, that's going to bring you way down. It's going to lower your vibration. It's going to make you be in a depressive state. And none of that is good for your energy and none of that is good for your business. So that's what I would say about that.
I just want to say mic drop to like everything that you said, but you're right. It's funny because I actually in my bio, because I say it's all about it's not just about what you feed your mouth, it's what you feed your mind as well. So it's really funny that you said that. And I know Myrna, you would want to say something as well.
I love that whole thing you said, Charlotte. It is so true. We have to build that muscle for mindset because our minds, the human minds, so want to go down that negative path. And it is a bad neighborhood, Jessica. I love that. It was Jessica that said that. And I was just like, yes. But the thing that I've used, like personal development changed my life. And It really did. And when my husband says, "Why are you still doing this stuff?" I let him know, you know, my own development has grown enormously as far as who I am as a person, who I want to be, what my passions are, how I serve people. And that to me
Mm.
makes it all worthwhile. You can make all the money in the world, but really building who you are as a human being is huge.
I agree. And Jessica, I love, you're absolutely right. It's about who you are as a human being, and especially, I think now especially that's just so important, because a lot of times I think we forget that, to be kind to one another, and you don't know what other people are going through. But back to Jessica, what you were saying about serving others, I just wanted to reiterate how great of a point that was as well, because you're doing it wrong if you're not serving others, and that lends to who you are as a human being, to Myrna's point. So I just wanted to tie those together.
I'm gonna go ahead, Coach Becca.
So I told you guys I'm in recovery. So a lot of what I do is based on attraction rather than promotion. And maybe that sounds crazy, right? Because I'm a promoter or whatever, but it's attraction-based marketing. If you are living the lifestyle that is attractive to someone else, you don't have to sell anything. You literally share your own personal story and journey, and then help them to do the same thing. And there is no sales, right? It's attraction. And then what do I always hear is, work harder on myself than I do on my business and you'll be successful. So like, yes, you can start a business here, but like, if you are pouring into personal development and pouring into yourself, you're going to become that leader, that person, that mentor that somebody else is going to be attracted to and actually wants to work with and do business with.
100%. I want to pull this up from Charlotte. Can I have Ruth? Can you read this for me?
Yeah. How do you handle if your husband's telling you that they are all the same? He thinks it's only the people at the top that actually make money.
Anyone want to answer that?
You ignore him.
I would say show him the money, girl. Show him
the money. But
Prove
you
him
know
wrong.
what? It goes back to what I said earlier, though, right? About asking the questions with the pyramid scheme, right? It's asking the same question, to him, and just be like, you know what? Or a lot of times I know a lot of companies talk about this. Work together. Okay, only the people at the top make the money. Show him what's going on, show him all the companies, show him everything that you're doing, and make a goal together, like a family goal together. Work with your husband and work with him. Be like, okay, give me time to do this, and this is what we'll do once I get there.
And I'd like to add one thing too, if I can.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
A lot of companies will actually promote or show all of the 1099s for the previous years. And so you can actually prove that there are a lot of people making money if you show them the 1099s, because you can't make that up, or at least, once they've published it, that isn't a made up number, and it really does help to validate the opportunity.
100%. Oh, go ahead, Amy. Go ahead.
Going back to I think Aaron that said ask questions. Ask your husband questions like, well, how much money do I need to make for this to be worth our time? Because you might not need to be a income earner for network marketing or multi-level marketing to make a difference in your life. A lot of people only need, $500, $1,000 a month, and it makes a huge difference for them. So I would ask that. And then, going back again to the questions, I don't know where your husband works, or, friends, whatever, where they work, because people say things like this all the time. You'll hear little remarks like this, well, how much do you make at your company compared to the CEO? Because a lot of times, not a lot of times,
good point.
You're not making a CEO. So this is a profession where you can actually, I know plenty of people who have passed their sponsors, past multiple sponsors, because not everybody wants to make the 6-figure income. Some people join this business because they just want the $500 a month. They just want the $1,000 a month. And just because you sign up into this business, you have to be the top income earner, or have to be in the top 50. You have your own personal goals that you're going for. And so I would kind of get into alignment with what his ideas are and kind of approach it from that perspective.
Beautiful. And lastly, Coach Becca, before we move on.
Awesome. Thanks. A couple things that we like to do is we like to include the spouses, right? And so like maybe if there's a presentation call or if you have a call set up with somebody that you're looking into doing business with, ask your husband to sit down with you so that he can ask the questions that he has, right? Give him the opportunity to have a voice as well. And at the same time, right, sit down and find out what his goals and dreams are. Does he have a dream of going on a vacation? Well, how much is that vacation going to cost? What if this could be the opportunity for you to create that income for you guys to go on that trip? Or if he wants a new truck or a new toy or whatever it is that he wants, ask him questions and find out what his goals and dreams are so that you can also show him that this could be a vehicle to get you guys there.
Beautiful. I love that. Ruth, go ahead.
Just one last thing to add to this. I run across so many people who just have husbands who just are negative, period, regardless of how we want to include them. And you have to ask yourself, why are you doing this for you? Like, what does this mean for you? How is this going to help you move your life forward? And is it worth the controversy? So in a perfect world, we can bring our spouses in and have all this nice stuff happening. But a lot of times they just don't want to agree. They just don't get it. They're closed. They don't want to agree. And that's when you have to look inward and say, what do I want out of this for me? And where do I want to take this?
100%. I can totally appreciate that. I am going to move on to Miss Amy Butler to take the stage. Tell us a little bit and a question.
Thank you, Sabrina. Okay, so I'm Amy Butler, like I said earlier, and I've been with my company for 16 years. We're in the health and wellness industry, and I love that what I do is I get to help people look better, feel better, but ultimately so they can live bigger. And that just aligns with who I am as a person, because I believe that we were all created for a purpose. But when you get bogged down by you're not feeling well or you're not looking your greatest, you're not confident about how you're showing up places, your confidence starts to shrink and then you start to shrink. And I get to help people live bigger, get that confidence back, start to feel secure in who they are, both with our products and with our business. And that just is so central to who I am and what makes me passionate about life and feeling fulfilled myself, that I have found the perfect alignment with my company. Oh, and I forgot to tell you guys, my son is getting married in 17 days, and that just like blows my mind. So, yeah, my kids they're grown up now, so that's exciting. Looks different now than it did when I first started this business. But what I just want to see a show of hands. How many of you, when you were a little kid, said, I want to be in an MLM when I grow up? Like, just raise your hand. Like, nobody's raising their hand. Okay. So me neither. I did not say that. And like I said earlier, when I was the first approached about the business, I was like, no, get away from me. I thought I was Miss Professional because I owned my business and all this thing. So, definitely had a stereotype about the industry. But obviously something shifted because here I am telling you that like I love my company and like this is the best thing that ever happened to me. So I just want to know for you guys, you didn't go out seeking this. What was the shift? Karen.
I kind of said it, but I'll reiterate. The shift for me was seeing the people lose the weight, earn the money, and knowing and being like, wait a minute, like there is something more. Like I wanted something more. So the shift was it provided it. And then I realized once I understood, I was like, okay, this is great and I love it, but it's also the choices. I think a lot of times we don't realize the choices. You're talking about also with the bills, like it really just provides the choices. Like, wait a minute, this gives me a choice of to do whatever it is I want to do with it. You can do or anything with it. So the breaking point for me was having that choice. Oh, wait a minute, I could pay for my son's baseball, and then it just kept going and going from there, because you're also building that belief at the same time as well. So you love the products you share with them, and then it's like, wait, this pays for this, oh wait, it goes there, oh wait, it goes there, and that kind of a thing. So that was kind of the breaking point for me was, wait, for me, I was like, I just wanted more, I needed more, and I wanted to show women like myself that we could be great people and good moms by taking care of ourselves first. So that was a shift for me.
Yeah. Melanie.
So for me, the first company that I aligned with many, many years ago was really based on the community and the interaction with the women. It was totally home party based, and it was crafting stuff. And I loved that. And I loved that I was making things for my kids and, doing something that was fun for me and interacting. So back then when my kids were little, it was about the community. But then when I saw that there was I could really make some money because that's when that shift happened, where I focused differently than just having fun, but having fun and doing the things that I needed to do to level up and make the money.
And isn't this such a great space that I don't know too many other jobs that will let you come on board because you just want to hang out with the people there that are working. But like here, you can do that. You can do it for the money. You can do it for the community. You can do it for your love of sharing, the products with people. And my experience anyway with the people that I in my company and then also with other companies that I'm aware of, they're not pushing you saying you haven't had a promotion in 60 days, you need to like get with it or get out. But like in other jobs it's like that. So I just love that about this space because it can fill whatever void it is that you're needing to fill. Was it Coach Becca had her hand up? Maybe.
Yes. So for me, it was timing every single time. It just happened to be presented to me at the right time. I was desperate when this opportunity was presented to me. I literally was like in tears, desperate. And I took it and I ran with it. And then when I wasn't so desperate anymore, I sat and rode out a $200, $300 check for a few months. But then when I was desperate again when COVID hit and I was like out of my fitness business, I ran with it again. And so it's timing for me. Every single time when it's presented, I've been open to receiving, right? I've been open to receiving. A lot of times I'm closed. A lot of times, I'm like, I'm good. I'm all set. I don't need that, right? Thanks, but no thanks. And so when they presented it, it was timing and also how it was presented, right? It was presented in a way that it's something that's going to help solve a problem that I have, right? It's all about presentation as well.
Yeah. And that just is a good note too, that sometimes someone will tell you no, they're not interested in product or the business, but then they'll circle back around later when they do find that they have a need for what you're offering. So like, don't burn those bridges or don't be so discouraged because like the last 10 people you talked to told you no, because they might be ready again in 6 months or 5 years. Angela, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so the shift for me, and this is kind of interesting, and I don't know how relatable it will be to the ladies here tonight, but I found that it's really relatable in a lot of the communities that I am in. I grew up in a way where I wasn't allowed to have go for a further education. I really wanted to go after a big job, and I wasn't able to do that. And so for me, the industry, when I looked at myself in my 40s, I was like, wow, I'm really financially behind. I feel really financially behind. And the industry offers the opportunity to play a lot of catch up. You can catch up financially in a way that no 9-to-5 job is going to allow you to do, right? And I found that there's a whole lot of people in the same boat. They're financially behind. And they maybe they want that sense of community as well, but financially they want to play catch up in a big way. So I think that was a shift for me, even though I had always been in the industry a little bit, playing around in it a little bit. I realized that this was an opportunity that could really help a lot of people.
Yeah, I love that this industry is an even playing field. As someone said earlier, I don't know who it was, maybe it was Becca, that whether you're in jail or yell. And my son was here walking through the kitchen when he heard that. He's like, tell her that was a good one. So yeah, it doesn't matter where you're coming from. It doesn't matter what your education is, what that background is, what your financial background is. You can be successful in this business. And then again, I just think that so many times people, when they're listening, they hear successful and they think like top 50 income earners, or they think like you got to be at the top of the company. And define success for yourself, like what you want it to be. Anybody else want to add to my question? And I can't see your name because it's covered up by something.
It's Jessica. Yeah. I just wanted to say that, like, I am like an oddity in this area. I didn't have any shift. I was 1,000,000% gung-ho from the get-go at the beginning, like Mel Gibson in The Patriot, running with the flag, hold the line, all in hands down. And I wish to all of you that you will find many of me for your businesses.
Yeah, I love that. I was snooty about it, like I said, but I was looking at the person who was introducing the business, and I recognized that her and the girl that she was with, they had something that I was missing, and I couldn't name it. I didn't know what it was, but I just knew that they had something I was missing, and I knew I did not want to let it like slip away from me. So that's why I said yes. And then I figured it out. And I was the person with the personal development that people talked about. I would get books as gifts when I would hit little milestones in my business. And I had like a stack like this big before I ever read the first one, because I was like, I don't need to read these books. I hated reading. I was a slow reader. I was like, it's not for me. Like, I already got this. And like, that's just like a, admission of like, oh gosh, that poor girl needed it more than anybody else. And she just, yeah.
Does anyone want to read the question?
If I am juggling another job and family, is there a requirement for so many hours or sales? Anybody want to tackle that?
I can tackle that. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say, I did have that. Like, I worked full time when I started 6 years ago. I worked full time. My kids were littler then, and the short answer is no. The beauty of network marketing is it could literally be anything you want it to be. So if you have like an hour a day, like when I talk to people about doing the business, I actually ask them how many hours can they put into it, and then we work from there. So there is no requirement. It's how many hours a week can you work, a day can you work, what can you do? And let's make sure that when you do those, when you're working those hours, that you're working those hours smartly.
Jennifer, do you want to add anything before we move on to Melanie?
I was just going to say exactly what Karen said about using that time wisely and doing it for income producing activities, and just being really focused and prioritizing on the right activities when you have a little bit of time.
Perfect. I love it. Thank you so much, Amy. I appreciate you taking the floor. We're going to switch to Melanie.
Okay, great. Thanks so much. So I started in this industry, leaving corporate marketing when my 22-year-old, now it was 18 months old, and now I have a 19-year-old and a 13-year-old. Thank God, because she's the girl, and I needed that when I was turning 40. But like I mentioned, I've been in this industry for a long time, and my first company was crafting. And then as my life changed and I had my own health experience with the death of someone very close to me. If you were like me and brought up in the 80s, it was all about if you're skinny, you're healthy. And that's not how it works, but that's how we were taught. And when this young person passed away, I dove into my own personal wellness journey. Fast forward on my fourth company, when I was introduced to, hey, you know what, you can actually do things with supplementation. That's when I joined that company. And I aligned with a company that I loved and an upline that I loved. And then several years later, that upline reached out to me and said, how are you liking what you're doing? And because I loved her so much, she introduced me to this concept of mental wellness and the gut-brain connection. And I followed her to the next company and have been extremely successful for many, many reasons that I talked about before the company, but also skilling up in the thing. So my question is, how important is your upline to your success, or is personal responsibility really the thing that drives your success? Yes, Karen.
Nobody else was raising their hand. I was like, all right, fine, I'll go. I have to be honest. I'm going to preface this by saying this. So I've been working with Tracy Litt, who's a mindset coach and whatnot, for like the last year, and she's amazing. And she talks a lot about taking personal responsibility. So actually, I think it's really up to us to do the work, it's wonderful to have accountability partners, and it's wonderful to have your upline there for you. But in reality, if you're not doing the work, whatever that work may be, you're not the one who's going to be successful. You can't blame anybody else for doing that. And the same thing when you're the upline. I'm going to actually answer the question because we're talking about is the person who enrolled you. So that's what we call it. It's like the boss. Sponsor equal upline, just to give you the idea to answer the question, because we happen to be talking about it. But that's where I think it is. I honestly think it's up to us to be the one to have that daily method of operation, to hold ourselves accountable, to make sure we're doing it, and then also be the ones to be like, you know what, let's have an accountability group. Let's talk to our upline. Make sure we're giving the information to our upline. Maybe doing it like that, but it's not up to them. It's awesome. I don't even speak to the person who sponsored me. to give you the idea. Like, so the person who actually enrolled me, I don't even speak to. So I don't even speak to my direct upline, but I speak to other people. So it doesn't necessarily have to be your direct upline either. It's also who you aligned with. A lot of times they leave companies, whatever it may be. But it's really about you and what you're willing to do. This is my personal opinion.
Go ahead, Jessica.
I had an experience where I had a disconnect with the person that brought me into the first business that I was in. And it was so bad that I couldn't move forward in the business. And then I moved geographically and I connected with another person in the local area where I was. And from that point, I became in the top 2% of the company, flourished, just ran. And so it's really, really important that you have someone, whether it's the person that directly brought you into the business or not, but someone who is in your corner that you truly align and connect with and has your back and understands who you are and can help you maintain that personal responsibility, because that is also super important. Because like I said in a few minutes ago, you're on your own. You know, you have community and you're building a nice business, but for a lot of it, it's you on your own. So you have to be personally, you have to hold yourself accountable. And in order to do that, I believe it's essential to have someone above you that can keep that accountability strong for you. So that connection is essential, in my opinion.
For sure. I love that you said that, because I get people telling me many times about their upline is MIA, or they only hear from their upline at the end of the month. And there's no vested interest in helping them be successful throughout the month or throughout their career. And so for people who are looking at opportunities, it's hard to tell if this is a good upline for you. I mean, everybody is happy and nice and the best person in the world. And then when they become your upline, it could be a different story. So thank you for saying that, because there's other options than an upline. Yes, Angela.
Yeah, I think that's so super important. It can be upline for sure, but mentorship, right? It's all about mentorship. And thankfully, I've been in the position where I've had the combination of both together, the amazing mentorship and happen to be upline. So that's good. But I guess that's not everyone's experience, but you need to seek out somebody that can mentor you and help you. Because we all need that personal development, and bouncing it off somebody and hearing someone else's point of view, or maybe having them see us in a different way is super important too, because maybe that's not what we see in ourselves.
Love that. Love that. Yes, Myrna.
I think they're equally important, because everything rises and falls with leadership. Yes, it's our personal responsibility. It's our own business. But if the leader is not giving the vision and the mission and providing mentorship, then they are letting that person down, I feel like. I also have been in positions where I had great leaders and where I had leaders who just really could not provide that, who didn't even connect with me on, at the same level. And it really is important, because what I have found by my experience is that drama can infect your team when there's no vision. When no one gives the vision, then the drama comes in, and that's when you start losing people. And it is so important to have that leadership lead and bring people along with them. And also for those people to take personal responsibility. It's not the leader's job to answer every question and to know where everything is for that person. That person needs to take responsibility for that. But to me, they're equally important.
That's great. Yes, being resourceful is so super important. Yes, Coach Becca.
So there's a couple different terms that are going around, but like for me, it's enroller and then sponsor, right? And those are two different things. Like the person that enrolled me is my bestie, and we got started around the same time. So we learned together as we grew, and the person that enrolled him was his bestie. And so we all became besties, and then we were too close, right? And so for me, seeking out a sponsor, seeking out a mentor who has what I want, right? So I went above that and just communicated like where I was at with the other people. And they're like, go, run, fly. This is awesome. You know what I mean? But like connecting with somebody who literally, like, they're both single. They don't, you know what I mean? They don't have kids. I have a child, a husband, somebody who I can relate to and who has what I want in business, right? Is doing the things that I want in business, and just asking them for help and seeking that sponsor, that mentor who actually has what I want.
That's great. Yes, Ruth.
I love what you said, Coach Becca, because I think in our industry, our businesses are so dependent on duplication. But if it's only the leader or the sponsor that has any sort of enrollment capabilities, our businesses will never duplicate. So being able to join someone with confidence, knowing that there is a leader in there, it may be further up the chain, but being able to join, you know, your friend or your neighbor or your aunt who is excited about the business, and they may not have all the answers, but knowing that there is leadership in your company that will be supportive, I think people can confidently move forward with joining a business that way.
Great. Excellent point. Thank you. Yeah,
I'm going to go ahead and cut off. Melanie, thank you so much for taking the floor. I apologize, Amy, but there'll be plenty more time. We're going to switch gears a little bit. We're going to give Jessica the floor for about 10 minutes and go from there.
Hey guys, I'm Jessica Faraday, and I kind of want to just tell you a little bit about my story because it's related to my question that I'm going to ask. So when I came into network marketing, I was stuck in my life. I went to school for musical theater. I love to sing and dance still today. In case you couldn't tell, I'm pretty charismatic. And I was stuck. I was living in Pennsylvania at the time, and my boyfriend and I were there, and he had a pretty good job, but we really literally could not afford to leave the state of Pennsylvania. And let me just tell you that in the center of Pennsylvania, where I went to school, there isn't anything except school. So there were no opportunities for me to pursue the theater that I wanted to pursue. I had worked at a restaurant when I was in college, and I decided to work at a different restaurant because I thought somehow that would be different. It was the same. And nothing was happening. And enter network marketing. A woman came in and talked to me and gave me her card. And I was super jazzed and super psyched. Like I told you, I was like Mel Gibson with the flag running for the goal line without my boyfriend used to describe me as like a Mack truck. You better get out of my way. Because I 100% believed in everything. I believed in the product. I believed in the company. I loved everything about it. And literally within 6 months' time, we were able to leave Pennsylvania, move to Connecticut, where I was right outside New York City, and I could pursue my career in theater. The other thing about network marketing and why it was such a great fit for me is because when you're an actor, you're doing a show and you might be across the country for 6 months, and then you might be back for 2 weeks, and then you go somewhere else for another year, and then you come back for another month and a half. Imagine trying to find work. Okay, it's really difficult. You're juggling and you're juggling and you're juggling. You can do temp work, you can do restaurant work, you can do bartending, but you're always having to switch. I didn't want that lifestyle. I also am pretty high maintenance, and I like the things that I like. I like my posh life. I like to pay my bills. I like to have money. So having residual passive income that is happening at all times, whether I am across the country or on tour or in my bed or whatever the case may be, was super, super important. So network marketing was the correct fit for me. And when I started, part of the way that the opportunity was explained to me, and part of how I continue to explain opportunities like this to other people, is it's like the Cinderella slipper. I believe that everyone deserves the chance to try it on. It may fit you, it may not fit you, but what could you possibly imagine what you could be missing out on? What if it fits? What if it fits? And what comes in that starter kit box? What came in that starter kit box for me was the ability to move to a place where I could pursue my dreams, was the ability to buy a house, was the ability now to raise my son, was the ability to be and have the life of my dreams, what I wanted to build and what I wanted to design. And there are so many life skills that I have gained from being in this industry, especially being with the first company that I was with. I learned so much marketing, all of my marketing. Their marketing plan is taught at Harvard. That's how good their marketing plan is. I went on to be the director of marketing for a theater company for a time. I went on to be the director of marketing and social media for a restaurant group for a time. All of that came from that pink box that I got, a simple pink box. And from me saying, yes, I'll try on that slipper. I'll see if it fits. So I want to know, my question to all of you is, what life skills have you gotten from your business and being in this industry of network marketing? And how has that worked out for you? Yeah, Jennifer.
You know, something, I think the biggest life skill for me was relationship development and how to really come to a place of service with people. I don't want to say that I was ego driven and selfish before network marketing, but when you look back on it, I didn't ask tons and tons of questions. I didn't really try to get to know people. And that's something that I've learned. And I don't look at it as I'm going in it to try to get somebody into network marketing by any stretch of the imagination. I really just learned to discover about people. It's like a puzzle. It's like learning new people, figuring out what they're all about, seeing if there's a synergy there, seeing if I can find connecting points. And if not, I've made a great new friend. And if I find some connecting points, then we've got stuff to do together in the future, hopefully. But that's probably the biggest skill and the most important skill that I've gotten from network marketing.
Thank you. I love that. Community. That's what I keep saying. Yes, Coach Becca.
Well, I put it in a little side chat so all of you ladies know, but I developed such good relationship skills that I recruited myself a husband. So that was pretty cool. But really that took development of myself as well, you know, communication skills. And the one that I'm most passionate about and that I share with so many people is financial principles. Like, I never learned anything about finances. That's why I was broke. That's why I had a business, but I had no money for heating fuel. You know what I mean? And through the mentorship and through personal development courses that I've done here, I've learned how to not only create an income, but have money in savings as well as invest money so that my money's making money. You know what I mean? And that was nothing, like I never had savings. I didn't have commas in my bank accounts. I didn't even have multiple bank accounts, right? Like I was lucky if I had enough money to put food on the table. And so financial principles all the way, like that's what we're really big on, not just teaching you how to make money, but also what to do with your money. Like I didn't want to be told what to do with my money. I was angry the first time somebody sat down and was like, well, what do your finances look like? I was like, that's none of your business, right? But thank God for those people who care enough about me, because, you know, now today I get to travel often. I get to do all of these things because somebody cared enough in this industry to share those things with me.
Thank you, Coach Becca. I do want to say too that resiliency, I forgot to say it, resiliency is something that I got because you learn how to hear the word no differently when you're in a business like this. It's not personal, it's just business. And being an actor, you hear the word no a lot. And there are a lot of people who cannot deal with that. So I want to say that that was a big thing for me for life skill. Angela, yes, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I was going to say pretty much the same thing. The relationship building, right? Like it actually is a skill. I remember in one of the first companies I was in when social media was just becoming a thing, I was one of those girls that sent those "Hey girl" spammy messages, and it doesn't work, right? And I know we've all gotten them. We all cringe. We all hate it. But that was a skill that I had to learn, and I'm really grateful, like, to be able to build those relationships. And like you said, sorry, I think it was Melanie maybe that said it, that you build these relationships, and maybe that person is going to be a business partner with you, and maybe you just made a really good new friend, but building those relationships is super important. Yeah, and I love that.
Thank you, Angela. Yes, Amy.
Well, first of all, if it wasn't for in my company, I would not ever do public speaking. I would not be on a thing like this, like for who knows how many people watching it, and to be out there on the internet for who knows how long, because that is terrifying. So just the confidence to be able to talk more freely in front of people is one thing. But the biggest thing, and I don't know how to really like define this as a skill, But the biggest thing that has been a huge blessing to me and my family, my kids were raised around people with a different mindset. My kids were raised around people who saw the world differently, who, they've seen that goals, they've seen me make goals, they've seen me take them on trips because of goals like that. They've seen me make goals or set goals and not make them. And they've seen me not quit, but pick myself back up and be like, you know what? Today's a new day. It's a new goal, a new challenge, a new thing that I'm going to do. And that sort of thing, for your kids to be raised around that environment and see that from not but from other people. My kids, 21 and 27, are in a different space than a lot of people their age.
Great point, Amy. I love that. I love that. Melanie, I saw your hand. I'm going to just take this question at the bottom here. What's your favorite thing about being in an MLM? I think that's going to be a different answer from everybody, but I'm going to say for me, my favorite, and it might be the same for some of us, but my favorite thing is growth. It's one of my most favorite things, watching people come alive and blossom and open up. I've seen people come in who weren't able to speak in front of anyone in public and then command a room of 50 people easily. And that's one of my favorite things, is watching that happen in an MLM. I'm going to let Melanie go. And then if somebody else has another answer to that question, we can come back to it if there's time.
I can't pick my favorite thing, so someone else will have to. But to your other question about what life skills, for me, it was really being able to get more done during the day. I had to be more productive. I had to time block or time manage, if that's even a thing, but really learning how to do certain tasks during a certain time to get more done. It's so easy to get distracted, especially on social media. Oh, this one messaged me, or I got to put a post up. Oh, I have to comment. When you can learn how to create time blocking around productive activities, you get way more done. And I didn't know how to do that before. So that was a big thing for me.
Love it. Love it. Thank you, Melanie. I see Myrna and Karen's hand up. Let's go with Myrna.
So real quick, life skills. That's my favorite thing. When I retired from my job, so much of what I received was done over the phone, as in my supervisors were always remote. I dealt with small governments, and they were very difficult to deal with. And so I got a lot of not very happy phone callers. And if it hadn't been for being in a network marketing company, I would never have ever even answered my own phone, much less called someone else. And that to me is huge. So life skills is my favorite thing.
Love it. Thank you, Myrna. And then Karen's hand was up. Yes.
Well, I'll answer your question about that, but also the favorite thing, if that's okay. So one of the life skills actually was I've been everybody's therapist, so people come to me to talk about their issues, so I fix the thing. So asking questions was a huge skill that I'm like you. I'm out there. I'm outgoing and that kind of a thing. But the asking of the questions and being really interested in people and what they're saying was a huge life skill that I had, instead of just, trying to fix their problems, if you will. And my favorite part about MLMs, Jessica, you talked about it, even though we're by ourselves, is the community. I mean, I'm in love with the community. And it's just the network marketing community in general. It doesn't have to be, I love my company's community, but I honestly think network marketing as a whole, our community is just amazing. And my favorite part about the community is how we lift each other up, how we support each other, how we don't both smoke it. We really are truthful with each other. You're doing this, you're not doing this. You talked about the upline earlier. She's a huge, she's a big wig in the company, and she's like, you know what? Look at these videos, and then we'll go over daily methods of operation, whoever wants to do it. And so that's part of it too. It's like, you really wanted to see me succeed. And we had a great conversation, but she was completely and totally truthful and honest with me, but not mean about it. You know what I mean? And that to me is the best part of an MLM, because it's really about working together for the greater good, period, end of sentence, full stop. And everybody does that, in network marketing as a whole. And I think that's we need so much more of that in this day and age, but that's my favorite part.
I love that. Thank you, Karen. I want to say one more thing, Sabrina, before you take it back, if that's
Thank
okay.
You. Yeah.
I wanted to touch on when Melanie was talking about mentorship, and we were all answering. This is something that, like a through line that I was seeing, and it's one of the most beautiful parts about being part of an MLM or a network marketing company, is the opportunity to shift and pivot and move around. Like I myself had more than one mentor. You're not tied necessarily to the person that offered you the opportunity or brought you into the company. We are a community, and there are leaders among leaders, and you can connect with somebody else. Where if you're in a corporate job, your boss is your boss, and you have to work with them, and you don't have a choice to move about and do those things. That's one of the most beautiful things about the community that we have, is that we are all supportive of each other, and you have the opportunity to pivot and shift like that.
Awesome.
Thank you.
No problem. No problem. Thank you so much, Jessica, for everything. We're pivoting to Ruth. Tell us a little bit and ask your question.
Sure. Thank you so much. So again, my name is Ruth Sheridan, and I've been in the industry since 2008. I've been in a couple of different companies, but I really got serious when I decided I needed purpose in my life. I had a great corporate job, made really good money. That was not an issue. I was a single mom. But it all came to a head when I had a relationship, a 10-year relationship with an addict. So I was on the other side of the addiction phase. I was the codependent, and it almost ruined my life. I almost got to the point where I took my life. And having come out of that, I remember standing at the edge of a cliff saying, I need purpose in my life more than making money in corporate, more than doing things that felt meaningless to me. I needed purpose. And if I could help people free themselves, whether it was chains of addiction, codependency, and a lot of people can become free when they have the finances to become free. That's when I got really serious about this and got some mentorship and, got to where I needed to be and have been able to help a lot of people do the same. So for me, purpose is everything. For me, truth is everything. And I'm just the biggest believer in the truth is good enough in network marketing. After coaching so many network marketers, hearing some stories about maybe being told some things and not having things exactly the way they were told, for me, truth is everything. So my question is, it's a little bit different. It's, what is one dark secret about network marketing you wish you would have known when you first started? Angela.
Well, just to point to what you said, I think I wish I would have known that you cannot trust everyone, that people will lie to you. And so when it goes back to searching for who you want to work with and being able to be confident in that person, that you can trust them and that they're telling you the truth and the full transparency, all of those things. So like I had mentioned before, I've been around this game for a long time, around this business for a long time, and I got lied to a lot. I had companies that I had reached a really comfortable income level, and the company just up and folded out from underneath me. And so, yeah, making sure, I wish I had known that. I wish I had known that people would lie and not be 100% truthful.
So what would be your advice to someone who is looking to start a network marketing business?
It's almost like an interview process, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you got to see who you want to work with and make sure the full transparency is there. And when I chose the last company that I joined, I did that very thing. I asked to see. I wanted to know the full transparency, and I was fortunate enough to be able to go with a group of people that I felt comfortable with and that I already had built a relationship with. So I felt safe.
Awesome. That's great advice, Angela. Thank you. I'm not seeing names. I'm sorry. Amy, you had your hand up.
When I first started, like I said, she started, just started, I have a friend just started. It was kind of like that. And then there were some people who'd been there for a long time. But even even my upline that was in 20% of the company, I had maybe, there was like a string of 7 or 8 people between me and who I'm direct to now when you first get started. Like, and so, you know, I had a decision of, well, what would I do now? And when it first happened immediately, like I wasn't connected to, I didn't know the people that were up, you know, further up in the company. And so I kind of felt a little bit lost. And I don't know that I wish I would have known that, because if I would have known that, maybe I wouldn't have joined, and I would be really sad. I'm like, that really saddens me to think of what it would have been like if I hadn't have joined my company. So I don't know that I wish I would have known that, but, you know, just going back to the question that happened earlier, you know, about if you need a good upline, you don't have to have an upline to be successful in this business, but you will not be successful in this business without a downline. And when you are, you know, looking to your upline or to this one person to be your everything, or to be all the things you demand them to be, you know, you need a downline. And do you want people looking to you to be all the things? Because you'll never be everything to everybody and everything that everybody needs. And so just realizing that, and like it's already been said 100 times, you know, you have sidelines, you have other uplines, you have different people you can align yourself with. There's other coaches and mentors in this industry that, you know, aren't even affiliated with the company. There's just the whole community as a whole, for the most part, is really good people. And there's bad apples, and the bad apples, I think, have the loudest voices. And so that's sometimes what people outside of the industry know. But just knowing that you have a decision, you know, do I want to do this or do I not? And then we always say, wherever you go, there you will be. And so like I could have left and gone to another company, but then I would have been with another company that maybe I didn't align with as much. And, you know, I'd still be looking at this other person to make me successful. Well, I want to be success.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Anyone else? Karen.
And then I know I said I would also answer the question too, but it lends to actually answering the question, Sabrina. So I take things with a grain of salt. So yes, this business is totally about duplication and that kind of thing, but it's also make your own. And people, there's going to be 40 million different things and 40 different trainings, which is amazing. But it's like, it's not about, oh, I can't take it with a make it your own. You know what? If you truly are like, you know what? Wait a minute. I just honestly don't feel comfortable doing anything like that. It's not about my growth or anything like that. Then don't do that. Because a lot of times your upline will say to you, "Okay, if you don't feel comfortable doing that, what else do you want to do?" You know what I mean? And switch it around like that. So that was one of the things that I feel like, oh my God, you have to follow everything that they say, and you don't. You should follow, obviously, success leads clues. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying it's also make it your own and saying you don't have to do every single solitary thing. You can pick from this person, pick from that person, pick from this person. And to answer the question, to kind of lend to that, it's also a matter of who do you drive with? So like, for example, the person who enrolled with me, I really liked her. I wish she was a friend of mine, and we really just got along really, really well. So what am I looking for in an upline? Same thing I'm looking for in a company. I'm looking for integrity. I'm looking for somebody who's going to help me grow, who's going to give me advice, who's going to push me, who's going to pull me, who's going to be, you know, call me out on my crap, to be perfectly transparent also. So that's what you look for in a direct, like the person who's actually enrolling you. And then, you know, there's upline, it could be a million different other people above you. So like in my case where I don't speak to her anymore, okay, who else do I drive with in the team, in my team? Who else can really help me? Who else do I resonate with? And that's kind of, and like Angela was saying earlier, it's about the interview process, right? You're asking questions and whatnot, and put yourself out there. You know what? I need an upline. I need to speak to. This is what I'm looking for. And then, you know, people will come to you. You know, you have to tell people what you're looking for in order to see if they're a really good fit as well.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else with something they want to share? Coach Becca.
Becca, you'll be the last one to speak on this.
Perfect. Thanks. A couple things. When I first was introduced to the industry, I was sold a dream that was like a get rich quick overnight kind of thing, right? And so what I wish that I had been introduced to was that it could happen like that, but this is also something, this is a marathon, not a sprint, right? And that it does take work, right? A lot of people think they're going to join it and all of a sudden it's just going to blow up overnight and we're going to be driving big cars and riding in yachts and whatever, right? But like, you can get there. Yes, absolutely. This is a vehicle that 100% can get you there, probably very much quicker than any other vehicle. However, like, it does take work. And then the other thing is a personal thing, right? Is that the people that join with you, it's because they know, like, and trust you, and they want to do business with you. So I don't know about you ladies, but a lot of times too, like when we have somebody new start, we say, well, put them in a group chat with me. Let me connect with them. You know, you connect them with the person who enrolled you or who you're working with, because you don't quite know everything yet, right? But it's okay to take responsibility and start working with those people once you do have the knowledge and once you do. I made the mistake of leaving a lot of people in hands of somebody who don't necessarily align with how they do business, but because I had connected them there, you know, I felt like they were more connected to that person, but they had really come to do, they were looking to me to coach them. They were looking to me to be their coach, and I passed them off. And so I wish that I personally had that realization that, like, they know, like, and trust me. And it was the belief in myself really that I needed to have. So
That's gold, Becca. And I love the first thing you said, and I was hoping someone would say it, and you did. Because when I joined, all they told me was I had to get two, and those people would get two, and then those people would get two, and it was going to be really easy. And that was the furthest thing from the truth.
Love the transparency. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Ruth. I appreciate you and the question that you provided for us. I am moving on to Jennifer.
What an amazing panel. Just feeling really blessed to be here with all of you tonight. My name is Jennifer Glacken. I live just outside of Detroit, Michigan. I've been involved in the industry for 28 years. I got started because my son had some health challenges and I was looking for a health product. Got introduced to the company that I'm with currently and fell in love with the products. And when my husband lost a job, I decided to build a business. I thought it was going to be for this little short period of time while he was looking for a job. And I fell in love with the industry. I fell in love with helping people every day improve their health and also improve their wealth. And then an unexpected life event happened. I had been married for 27 years. I had homeschooled my kids from preschool all the way up through high school. And I ended up in a divorce situation. And if I hadn't had my business, I'm not quite sure what would have happened. You know, it really was a lifesaver. And I just feel so blessed that I had built my business for what was the family plan B at the time. And it turned into my personal plan A. Now, most of my questions tonight, I had 4 questions actually written up, and all of them were personal development questions. So I'm going to shift and I'm going to ask a different question because I think we've really covered the personal development conversation. So my question is going to be about social media. And so I wrote something down here. So, you know, social media has really changed the way we do business. And I talked earlier when I was first introducing myself about building old school versus kind of new school, which is attraction marketing. And I've heard a lot of you use terminology like attraction marketing and about, you know, doing business with people that we know, like, and trust. But I thought it might be helpful for the people listening to give some actual tips on how do you use social media successfully so that people aren't thinking that they have to do those hey girl messages or to spam people or just post all day about their products in their news feed. So does anybody want to answer that question? Jessica.
Yeah, it's for me 100% authenticity. Sharing authentically about yourself, sharing your journey. I think Coach Becca talked about that a little bit earlier. That's to me is the heart of attraction marketing. If you are not authentic and if you're not sharing from your heart and about yourself, then I don't think it works. You're not going to attract the people that you want to. The other thing is that you need to know who you're talking to. You have to know your audience. If you don't know who you're speaking, if you're speaking to everybody, you're speaking to no one, is ultimately it. So you have to really boil that down to who you're talking to. And ultimately, that person is you. You're talking to yourself. You are your own ideal client is really what it works out to be. So those 2 things, being very authentic and sharing authentically from your heart and knowing who you're talking to are what's most important, I think.
So true, Jessica. That whole authenticity, being real. And I always tell people, just be yourself. Don't try to read a script. Don't try to be somebody you're not. Just be you. And exactly know who you're talking to and know who you're trying to attract. Yes, Ruth.
That was awesome, Jessica. Bang on. The other thing I would say is consistency over perfection. So consistent content, no matter whether it's good, bad, ugly, pretty, and being out there will make you better, as opposed to trying to create that one perfect post and only getting one out a week. So consistency over time will attract people.
Powerful, powerful. So true. Yes, Melanie, did you want to say something?
Yeah. So what Jessica and Ruth already said are the top three for sure. And to just piggyback a little bit more about what Jessica said and what you said before, Jennifer, is you have a problem that you have a solution for, but also to focus on the transformation that people will experience when they align with you, whichever offer it is, your product, your business, whatever that is the transformation is key. And then social media is meant to be social. So just be a person. Don't be weird.
Yes, don't be weird. Love it. Coach Becca.
This is kind of new, but videos, they are king right now. They're everything. People's attention span is super short. So if you get those 15-second reels, TikToks, whatever it is, and get a hook line, right? It's storytelling. Like, it is literally writing a story. So if you have a hook line if you open up a book, there's going to be the first line is going to be something that's going to draw you in, right? So if you use that quick hook line, tell the story, and then have a call to action at the end of that story, either offering them something or having them to follow you, because if they follow you, if they want to see more of the content you're putting out, eventually you're going to share something about either your opportunity or your product or your story that they're going to relate to. But that video, everybody wants to watch people either live video or those quick 15-second videos. They're everything right now.
And it's so important to stop the scroll, isn't it? It's like that first thing that you say to people when you're trying to draw them in. It's just to really stop the scroll. So I don't think that we have anybody else had a question or a comment. So thank you. I'll turn it back to you, Sabrina.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jennifer. I appreciate it. We're going to head over to Myrna.
Well, hello again. This has been fantastic. We could have this conversation for hours longer, right, ladies? So I'm Myrna Buckles. I spent 20 years in the U.S. Public Health Service, and it became a very stressful job for me and was impacting my health. So I retired at 20 years, which was totally awesome that I could do that. And I realized when I retired, I needed a reason to get up in the morning. I am so passionate about helping other people, but I wasn't helping anyone. I was just at home. And so I got involved in network marketing and MLM, and it really helped me have a focus and go forward. And as time went on, I changed companies, I learned things along the way, and what I learned allowed me to impact more people by doing missions. And I found out that I knew a lot more than I knew or thought I knew. And isn't that the way it is? We actually do know more than we think. And I was able to help women in impoverished communities with the things I had learned in small business, in home-based business. And so I just, for me, God really has used that to build me. And it showed me I could be a coach for other women, because I really didn't have the confidence to do that. And then someone asked me, well, aren't you already doing that? And so that's kind of my story. And I have a question that is kind of an interesting one, I guess. And it's a little different angle than some of the questions we've had. So my question for all of you is, why How do you handle this question? How do you help your team handle this question? Why are products so expensive? Okay, Karen.
I'm not going to take any credit for this. This is actually a teammate of mine named Charisse who actually says this, but she talks about redirecting the grocery budget. So and then also, so I like that answer. You know, it's like, why is it expensive and that kind of thing. Well, what do you spend? You know, and ask them. But then it goes back to the questions, asking the questions. And it's all relative. Expensive is relative. So what do you think is expensive? Why do you think it's expensive? What do you spend during the day? Walk me through a day. Like I asked that myself to process, like, what do you do? And you know what? A lot of times it's like, you know, nobody thinks twice about buying a $6 Starbucks something or other, but it's all relative in terms of they're nervous to spend that kind of money maybe on themselves. And it's really going back to what I said earlier about asking the questions and getting to really what they're thinking by asking that question. Because a lot of times it's so expensive is not necessarily, it's just an objection because for a different reason, whatever that reason may be.
Right. And it's one of those things is what's the real fear there? So Melanie, I saw your hand go up.
Yeah. I think to the questions that Karen was talking about, when we can establish the value, then the cost is irrelevant. And so taking them through from the hell that they're in now to the heaven transformation that they'll experience when they align and use the solution is going to take that objection off the table.
That is so true. It's just like Jennifer said earlier. We have solutions for pain that people have. And it really depends on their priorities, doesn't it? What's important to them? Who else has an answer that they'd like to give? Go ahead, Jennifer.
I could just add one. I like to ask the question, compared to what? It really just helps you get a framework and a frame of mind. If somebody's buying, let's say, supplements from the drugstore, then if they're buying a supplement from a health food store, it would be more expensive. Same thing with a shampoo or makeup. And so it's just really helpful to get an understanding of compared to what are they basing that value on.
Exactly. Anyone else? All right, Sabrina, I'll turn it back to you. Thank you, ladies.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This was absolutely phenomenal. Can we have a round of applause for everybody? Thank you so much for all of you being here. I also want to thank those of you that are still hanging out with us 2 hours later, watching us live. I so appreciate the support that you've been giving the Her Version community and the ladies that were here today, educating us on all the awesome things MLM. So thank you for joining us here at Her Version. I hope you received some awesome information on why multi-level marketing rocks. This was so awesome. I learned so much, and I hope you all did too. Does anyone have any closing thoughts before we wrap up? We're good? We're good. These women, along with others, take time every month to open up about parts of their lives in order to educate and inspire the world to think differently. If you resonated with any of these ladies, please follow or reach out to them. Their information is in the ticker at the bottom of the screen, and it's also in the description of the video that you are watching right now. If you have an amazing story to share of struggle to triumph, be sure to reach out to me here or at herversion.life. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria, and I'm so grateful to be here sharing a platform that allows people to share their truth and inspire others. As always,